Good morning to you. This is Sam Matterface with Alex Crook and Troy Deeney as well. And we're live on talkSPORT with Selco Builders Warehouse. It's where the trade go. Let's talk Blackburn Rovers, because Blackburn Rovers supporters have sent a drastic request to club officials. A collection of Blackburn supporters, spearheaded by the BRFC Action Group, have urged senior officials at the club not to attend the club's final 8 matches. For more of this, we're going to speak to Rob Hain, who is the co-creator of Kiddie Street Noise podcast. Hello, Rob. Thanks very much for coming on.
Hi, thanks very much for having me.
I think you've sort of said enough is enough today. Explain exactly your gripes and what you've done and who you've come together with.
We've had a really difficult period recently. Well, since the takeover, really, but especially in the last 3 or 4 years, we've had numerous managers leaving for lack of communication, lack of positivity for the future, or like an actual project to aim for, is what the words Jon Dahl Tomasson used. The fans have, one way or another, got to a boiling point, and the issue that we had is that we've got a lot of fan groups, a lot of individual supporters with their own opinion on how to change things for the future and improve things. Some of those opinions are more extreme one way or the other. Some, probably like from ourselves, are probably too extreme that most people won't get behind. Others are probably too tame that a lot of people wouldn't get behind. So we had to come together and almost discuss what we can do to improve the future of Blackburn Rovers. So Glenn from BRFC Action Group got together with a couple of groups and invited us in to participate in that. We had a conversation and we just said, how can we get the best outcome and the most attention without upsetting a majority of Blackburn Rovers fans? Because a lot of fans still want to just go and support the team and enjoy football on a Saturday, because that is what football is all about. So the extreme ideas of protesting and disrupting games, that sort of thing, is probably too much for those sort of people. We can't get the majority behind that. But we feel like this approach, asking the most divisive people in the ground to step away for the last remaining 8 games and just allowing fans to go to Ewood and enjoy it and get behind the team to the end of the season, and hopefully we get a good outcome from that.
Just explain to those who don't know who it is you've asked to stay away and why. I mean, because we hear all sorts of things coming out that one of the reasons that John Eustace left was because of a fallout with Rudy Gestede, and one of the reasons for Jon Dahl Tomasson leaving was the fact that there was no clear lines of communication to the owners and no clear project about what was going forward. But you just explain to us who you've asked to stay away, why you think that that's going to be an effective way of showing that there needs to be change.
Yeah, so I'll start with the CEO, Steve Waggett. He's been in charge of the club since 2017. I say in charge, we're not actually sure because of the hierarchy. We're not even sure if Steve's the main man or is it Sohail Pasha who's ahead of him. No one really takes responsibility or ownership of that. No one is really like the spear figure that does all the talking and all the communication, if there is any. He had Rudy Gestede come in on work experience last year. Mm-hmm. He just wanted to come in and sit on the club. 6 months later,
just before you continue there, when you say work experience, was Rudy Gestede, who used to obviously play in the Premier League and in the Championship. He was doing a sporting director's course. Is that correct?
So I think the actual official thing, he did his qualifications and course in France whilst he was still playing. He's been on a podcast recently explaining the situation, but he was close with Greg Broughton at Rovers, and he asked if he could come in for some experience. I think he'd done his qualifications by this point, and he just asked to come and sit alongside and see how the club was being ran. 6 months later, Greg Broughton then leaves because the project had changed and he stepped away, and he took a lot of flack for the failed transfers in the previous January transfer windows where paperwork hadn't been submitted and medicals had been missed and all sorts of errors that wouldn't happen at a normal football club. And then Rudy Gestede was put in his place with 3 to 6 months experience shadowing someone, which for a club like Blackburn Rovers, I don't think it is enough. Mm-hmm. So CEO Steve Waggett, he usually gets the most anger and resentment from the fans. So one of the reasons we've had to step away is because he's usually where the chants are aimed at and where a lot of anger and vitriol is aimed at. So if we ask him to step away from the games at Ewood, there'll be less need for that, and people can just focus on supporting the team. He recently had a pay rise from £330,000 to around £570,000 in a year where we sold a record low amount of adult season tickets. The position obviously we finished 19th last season under John Eustace after John Noel Thomason left, so not a successful season, but he managed to get himself a near enough 90% pay rise.
Rob, sorry to interrupt you, mate. Obviously, I'm a little bit closer to this than I would be with most championship teams, obviously with the relationship with Eustace. But if I'm hearing you correctly, so last year John Dale Thompson obviously got sacked. Eustace goes in.
I don't think he got sacked, did he?
Left away. Sorry, moved away. Apologies. And Eustace goes in, keeps you safe, keeps you up. No Rovers fan would have thought with that squad that you currently have, you'd be in the playoffs. Fair.
And this isn't about league position.
No, but I'm just saying no one would have, right? It's a fair comment to say that, yeah. So now it's starting to fall away. Obviously, I'm looking at it from, obviously, Eustace left and went to Derby. There was a lot of frustration around that. But the same managers keep saying the same thing. And this is added to your point. That's why I just wanted to get my facts right first before I said it. So what is the plan moving forward? Is this a case of where you want ownership change, you want director of football change, or you want more communication, or do you want all three, or all of those things?
The ownership has to change. It's become an untenable position now.
Okay.
The reason that we've asked these three to step away is because the owners haven't been to Ewood Park for 13 years. October 2012 was the last time they visited. How can we aim chance at them? How can we get communication across to them? These three people are the people that communicate with them, which is why this charge is now aimed at those three people. If we were to just say...
They can't change anything, though, can they? They're just employees. The owners are the real villains here.
Yeah, but the owners do employ those three people as well.
So do you expect the chief executive to turn down a pay rise or quit his job?
No, that people are expecting him to retire in the summer. I don't understand why anyone would retire on a £500,000 salary with no pressure on you. He basically has the freedom to do whatever he wants. There's no goals to hit. There's no expectations to meet. Why would anyone retire?
Yeah, and then probably the follow-up question I've got then, Rob, is there anyone who wants to buy Blackburn? Is there someone that's trying to be around that wants to prospectively buy the place?
There has been approaches through like media. Obviously, as fan groups, we have no idea of that. Legally, no one can come out and publicly say, I want to buy Blackburn Rovers, because that'll put them in a ridiculous position in terms of like negotiation and stuff. But there has been approaches. I think there was 3 in the last calendar year approaches to buy it, and each one has been turned away. It's not even been entertained. It's not even like the offer hasn't met our expectations or evaluation. It is simply, it's not for sale.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, I don't know if I'm right here, but just looking at it from a bit of distance, it looks like this is a club and a fan base, or a club that's going nowhere and has been sort of middling along for the last 10, 15 years, doing not very much. And a fan base has got completely frustrated and disenfranchised because there's no communication, no plan, no ambition. And it seems as if the Venky's bought a football club, didn't realise what they were buying. When it got relegated, I think, if I'm right in assuming this is true or not, they didn't realise they could get relegated. When they did, they thought, oh dear, this is a bit of a problem. And they've just sort of left it to operate by itself. And that in of itself is a problem. If you're a supporter of Blackburn Rovers, in the end, at some point, you're going to get particularly annoyed about that and want something done.
And they've been terrible owners. They came in 2010. I think the first thing they did was get rid of Sam Allardyce. They wouldn't have gone down under Sam Allardyce. They appointed Steve Keane, if you remember.
Yeah. That seems like another cracking decision.
But that turned into a complete disaster. So I get the frustration, and you can argue this has been 15 years in the making. I just wonder if the anger is directed towards the right people. And again, I understand what you're saying. If the owners don't attend games, how can we get our message across?
I think they've been quite sedate. The fact that they're deciding not to disrupt games and not to cause mass protests, because there are people there that want to be able to go along and watch the football. Look, the team is still within touching distance of the playoffs. There's still every chance they could get lucky.
And that's in spite of the owners, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, they've fallen away a little bit. They're 9th now, and they're a good 5 points off of the last place in the playoff places. It's going to be incredibly difficult for that to happen, but it's not beyond the realms of possibility. But they're fed up. Yeah. They're absolutely fed up. The fact that they haven't gone on the pitch and disrupted it with tennis balls like Reading or something else is probably actually a mark of the decorum that they've shown.
But this is where the EFL need to show a bit more teeth, don't they? They're starting to do that finally with Reading. But I'm just looking at the teams in the middle of the Championship. Sheffield Wednesday, historically a great football club. Their owner is running that club into the ground. The only reason they're safe in mid-table and not probably in the relegation zone is because they've got a really good manager in Danny Roll. Blackburn are 9th. You say within touching distance of the playoffs. I agree with Troy. They're not going to make the top 6. That's thanks to what John Eustace did with both hands tied behind his back. So I completely understand your frustration. What's the response been so far from those people you've asked to stay away?
It's been all... we've had no response from the people at the club, but in terms of the fans, we've got more traction and backing than we thought we would. We thought we didn't expect the media to back it so well, and we thank you for having us on to talk about it. And like you said, I think Sam said then, how do you get the owners to listen to it? It's because of platforms like yourself and other media outlets that give us this voice that somehow they might actually hear us and decide to eventually walk away. But yeah, there has been some fan groups that said this isn't enough, we need to do more, but it'll take time. This is like started a snowball.
You need to build a sort of groundswell of support, don't you, first of all, if you're going to be able to do this. The one thing I would say, though, and someone did say this to me when I was talking to them a couple of weeks ago about Blackburn, they said that the Venkies aren't really the problem. It's the way the club is being run internally, because at least the Venkies are writing the cheques every month and keeping them going. I don't know if that's true or not, but that is something that, of course, is a bit of a danger, isn't it? That you decide that you don't want the Venkies, but there needs to be a way of sort of funding the club in the interim period.
Well, the thing is, they haven't been funding us anymore.
Right.
Since they've been in the court case and they've had to put money in a bond to actually financially back us, we've had we usually lose around 16 to 17 million pound a year, which is quite average for a championship club. Every championship club,
but it's not sustainable over a long period, is it? You can't keep doing that.
I mean, that's not a Blackburn Rovers issue, though. That's a wider football issue in England. But the issue is now that we're having to sell assets to keep the lights on. We lose £70 million. Adam Wharton, a day after the court case got delayed, was being linked to Crystal Palace for £20 million. In 10 years' time, we'll be looking at Adam Wharton as one of England's best ever players. £20 million was not enough. It was just to keep the lights on, and it would have kept on for 6 months. We'd have probably sold him for 35.
Yeah, I'll push back a little bit on that, Rob, because it's whether he's a good player or not, which we all think Wharton is a very good player. At that time, there wasn't 15, 20 clubs all muting trying to get after him. Man United weren't after him. 20 million for a centre midfielder, with the greatest respect, who doesn't score plus assist a great deal, while he's a fantastic footballer, is a healthy fee for a player of that magnitude.
Yeah, but it's not just about goals and assists, is it? Like, if you look at...
No, that's what dictates value, is what I'm saying. So if you get a striker in the Championship, Ivan Toney, who scores 20, 30, 40 goals, that normally pushes the price tag up. My point is a holding midfielder that goes from, he's a very talented player, we're not going to disagree with that, keeps the ball moving, ticking over. It's very hard to say how much is a good value for that player, especially from the Championship.
But the point is, it's not sustainable long term. If you keep selling your best players just to pay your bills, eventually you're not going to have anything left to sell. You're going to get relegated. That's going to hit the finances.
But
and again, this is where the EFL need more power in these situations. The fact that Dai Yong is still in situ at Reading, they can disqualify him as a director, but they can't make him sell the football club.
It's why the Blackburn fans are protesting, because they don't want to get into that situation.
And I get it. I 100% get it. 100% get it.
And they're absolutely right to make sure that people are looking at it. Whatever the rights and wrongs of it are, at least there's a discussion about it, and then hopefully something will change. Rob, thank you very much for coming on, and we appreciate it.
Mate.
Good luck in your quest and endeavour. Please keep in touch with us and let us know how it goes on. Of course, we will reach out to Blackburn Rovers. Producer Ref Joe, he'll reach out to Blackburn Rovers and see if we can get a response from them.
Sure, there'll be more than willing. The chief executive will be in the studio, I'm sure.
I'm sure he'll be queuing up to come on and speak to us. 03717 223344 is the number to call if they do want to call us. We'd love to hear from them. You're listening to White and Jordan on talkSPORT with Selco Builders Warehouse. Check out this month's real deals at selcobw.com.